I wasn't actively looking to leave Cape Town. However, when the opportunity presented itself, it was almost a no-brainer. I'm just blindly applying for things as parents because you have to make considerations of what does this now mean? And I will keep it real. Cape Town is expensive. Pace, the vibrance, the art, the creativity. There's something imperfectly imperfect about this city that I particularly enjoy. So I'm happy to come back. I'm glad that life has brought me back. There are a lot of inconveniences that come with the new start that I'm not going to downplay. Hi beloveds, welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody. I hope it's going to be a good one. Somebody said it's 2023. I'm a big vision board, plan for the new year, reflect on the year that has been, planned for the new year ahead type of person. If you're not that kind of person, all good. But I really want to wish all of you watching a really great year. I know a lot of people have had a really difficult year. And for those who aren't feeling so optimistic as the year starts, it literally is 365 days. You can decide at any point that you want to change something, revisit something, take a leap, make a different decision, or not. Hope none of you feel pressured to feel overly optimistic about a new start if it doesn't feel that way. And all the more fitting, I'm recording this from a different city. Thank you so much for your engagement in the past videos. But those who are seeing me for the first time, I'm Dambisa. I'm based currently in Johannesburg, but I just moved from Cape Town. And 11 months before that, we were in Europe and Germany. And those who've followed us since the beginning know that I've gone through a few transitions in terms of just location in the past 2.5 or 2 and a bit years. And it feels really fitting to be in a new city as this new year starts. Obviously, this new start didn't just come with us physically being in Johannesburg. It's been a process from the inception being me seeing an opportunity, applying, thinking about the decision to move. And I remember when I had applied for the job, I was having a conversation with a friend, and she was encouraging me to apply and saying, I don't need to really think about what it would mean to move. Let me just take a leap and apply. And I was very honest with her and said, as a mom, you're burdened, or as a parent, you're burdened. And I call it burdened because it is a burden. It's weighty. You are burdened with having to make decisions and consider all the different ripple effects, even if something is not 110% a sure thing. E.g., you apply for a job in New York. You can't just blindly apply for things as parents because you have to make considerations of what does this now mean? If it means X, Y, and Z, then okay, let me take a leap. If it means X, Y, and Z, it means that it's detrimental to my family, my kids, whatever, let me not take the leap. So even just the mere fact, even the mere thought, just entertaining an idea is the inception of you entertaining a potential move and everything that comes with. And so it's been a process. We didn't wake up one day and decide to move. If anything, I had been itching for a change in my career, actually. When I came back from Germany, I took a job that made sense in terms of the skills that I'd learned when I was abroad. And also it felt like such a really well-positioned role and organization in an election year. And I had ample to give the role, but also a lot to learn. And so I leaned in and took the job, and very quickly realized that I wasn't used for all my skills, and I was itching for change and wanted to grow even more. I felt a little bit limited in how I could grow and contribute to the sector at the time. But I wasn't unhappy. I was just very clear. And so with that clarity came with, okay, at some point I'm going to have to actively look for work, or internally or externally, but I'm going to actively have to address this discomfort that I have in the particular role and do something about it. And during that process, I saw a job, and another friend of mine actually saw the job as well. Saw it, thought it was a great fit, didn't apply for it or didn't consider to apply for it. And once my friend sent it to me, I had to really then consider and think about it. Okay, if this role is a better role, if it is going to give me the things that I've been seeking that are lacking in this particular professional season, it is going to give us more money, which then translates into stability, etc., etc. But it may come with a move. What does this mean? And I really struggled. I tussled with that, but I did lean in and applied and got it, and I'm glad that I did. It wasn't the easiest process. I think I had 4 interviews, and I realized in my first interview that I really wanted the job, but I also realized in the same breath all that this particular role would come with, everything I've just mentioned now and more, even professionally. You know, there was a bit of imposter syndrome. Am I ready for a managerial role? Can I do it? Starting to doubt myself a bit. All this to say, us moving didn't happen from one day to the next. It's been a process, and I got the job officially in September and started working in October, and they made an agreement, or we came to an agreement, that they would give me time, 3 months, to relocate because of my children, so that we don't up and leave from one day to the next. Something that I was never afforded before. The time, you know, the grace of time to do that. And anybody who is relocating, and has a family or has other circumstances to consider, I would really encourage you to be upfront about those and see what you can negotiate, whether that's relocation fees, whether that's more time, whatever that looks like. In our particular scenario, we were given more time. And so I started this role 3 months ago, but I was still based in Cape Town, and it gave us time to plan, gave us time to really think. I had time to really make my peace with that end of this particular year in Cape Town, what that meant, end with the previous employer, what that meant, and prepare for the new role. And once I'd started in the new role, it gave me time to familiarize myself with this huge network, all this newness, all this information, familiarize myself with the colleagues there, and find my balance, find my bearings, so that by the time I would move to Johannesburg and be based here with the Johannesburg team, I would somewhat feel more settled. At least this is what I thought would happen. And I think for the most part, that's what happened. So this is why we moved. I wasn't actively looking to leave Cape Town. However, when the opportunity presented itself, it was almost a no-brainer for me to move. And I will keep it real. Cape Town is expensive. We obviously have this influx of digital nomads, tourists. It's an extremely popular, beautiful city that most people, internationals, definitely make a pit stop at. Some decide to stay. That has ripple effects, and one of the ripple effects of a touristy place like that, gentrified place like that, is that it becomes extremely unaffordable for locals. Rental prices become unaffordable because other currencies are coming in, people who can afford it, and so locals are pushed out. While I wouldn't say I was heavily affected by that, when I start to think of one of the reasons of moving to Johannesburg, which was I do want to build a life, I want to afford my kids a certain type of lifestyle, I want to have a home. None of those things are possible in my current financial situation in Cape Town. And I wasn't hurt or sad by that realization because I've never pictured myself living in Cape Town for the long term. I think I've detailed in another video, which you can check out, I'll put a link below, that because I've lived in that city before, I didn't necessarily crave a certain type of experience that I know a lot of people do who move to Cape Town. And there's no hate, there's no shade in that. You know, there is a very nice lifestyle that is possible in Cape Town. It may come at a cost, but it is possible, that I didn't necessarily yearn for or seek, because I think I really enjoyed my time in that city. Would I move back if the circumstances allowed and I had different priorities and I was at a different stage of my life? Possibly. I'm not against living in that city. I just felt very deeply that there was a misalignment in terms of what I want versus my current reality. So we've moved, and while it was completely or mostly driven by professional decision, family circumstances, financial circumstance, I was happy to do it. I'm not going to now pretend that the city doesn't have its faults and that those faults didn't play a contributing factor to me ultimately making that decision to go. So that's why I've moved. For those who've asked, I've lived in Johannesburg before, obviously on the other side of Johannesburg. I worked in Pretoria and lived in Centurion. I mean, we moved around quite a few times in Joburg itself, but settled in Centurion. And I like this place. I've always found Johannesburg extremely authentic in how it feels and how it presents itself. And you see it in people, in how you relate to people, the pace, the vibrance, the art, the creativity. There's something imperfectly imperfect about this city that I particularly enjoy. I think there's something that I like about we as South Africans get to have a city that truly represents sort of this metropolitan, young, millennial, I don't know how to explain it. Like there's something really modern but also rough around the edges about Johannesburg in this particular era that I particularly enjoy. And I love the representation of people across all different sectors thriving, you know, different colors, you name it, all the diversity is there that I particularly like. And I'd like my children to grow up around that and for them to know and experience diversity in its perfectly imperfect way. So I'm happy to come back. I'm glad that life has brought me back, and I can't wait to explore a different part of the city. We're obviously now living in a completely different part of Johannesburg. Love it here. There's lots to do on the outside, you know, lots of activity, lots of parks and things like that that I really want to explore. And so I'm happy to be back here. And while there are inconveniences to starting over, like not having your router ready so that you don't have Wi-Fi, not knowing how to get around, so you inconvenience in terms of transport, you know, your budget just being completely off and you living off noodles and God knows what for the first few weeks. There are a lot of inconveniences that come with the new start that I'm not going to downplay. It has, against the backdrop of all of that, felt really good to be back, and I'm happy to be here. Now, in terms of costs for relocation, a few people have asked, and I thought, let me just keep it real and be transparent. So in Cape Town, we were paying 10.6 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, top floor apartment in Burgundy Estate. For people who don't know what that means or don't know how to contextualize that figure and whether that's crazy or not crazy or affordable or not affordable, this is a normal amount to pay for an apartment a bit on the outskirts of Cape Town, maybe 20-minute drive, so not in the city center. You're definitely looking at paying more there. That was our rent. When we initially moved in, it was 9.7, and obviously they then increased when we renewed our lease. Yeah, so that's how much we're paying for rent. Currently in Johannesburg, we are paying 8.5 for a ground floor, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. One that is far more spacious. Yeah, so you do the maths. We are obviously saving in terms of rent, but in terms of how much it costs for the relocation, the deposit for this place costs 17.5. So I would say if you're looking to move, realistically budget anything between 18,000 Rand to 24-ish. Obviously this will depend on your spec. What are you looking for? What can you afford? Which areas you're looking for? We're currently living in the West Rand, and I've been told for this particular area, it's the amount that I'm paying is less than what you'd expect to pay for a 3-bedroom. So we got lucky, but I would confidently say that another 3-bedroom apartment would probably cost around the same amount of money that we were paying in Johannesburg. So a 3-bed here in what we're paying in Cape Town. So a 3-bedroom apartment in Joburg is the equivalent of what you would get for a 2-bedroom in Cape Town, on average. Just very, 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 very much on average. Obviously this varies. Then in terms of furniture, what did we do with our furniture? We moved most of our furniture. The only thing we sold was our TV stand and our bookshelf, and took everything else with. And we got quotes, we got quotes for 25,000 Rand. I got another quote for 19,000 Rand. I know a friend who was quoted 35,000 Rand to move things from Johannesburg to Cape Town, so the other way around, the same distance. So that's how much you will be quoted, and then the rest is on you to negotiate. I negotiated down and in the end paid just under 10K. So in terms of moving costs, we're sitting now at around 28,000 Rand roughly. Then what else? So we've got the deposit for the apartment, we've got the movers. Then we obviously had travel. I went home to Eastern Cape with my son, and that obviously costs just the traveling alone and buying a few things to eat and stuff, easily about 2K. That's the least I think you would anticipate to pay for travel. We use public transport. If you are looking to move your vehicle or looking to fly yourself here or looking to drive, you would definitely pay far more or have to budget a little bit more than 2,000 Rand to obviously move yourself to the city. And we were fortunate because I just opted for the public transport route. Otherwise we would have easily paid more. So if we're calculating deposit, we're calculating movers, we're calculating travel, realistically, where we were at 28, you're looking at maybe 33K now added the additional travel costs. And I would then round it off and say 35,000 Rand is realistically what I had put aside. When we arrived, things arrived late. I still needed to get an air mattress, needed to get a few new things for their apartment, so easily spent another 5K. So I would say roughly, I'm throwing numbers out now, roughly I personally in the end probably spent around the 36 mark. But I would say as a person you should budget more than that. Maybe 40K is probably your sweet spot for a relocation. So it's a lot of money. I know that for people who've moved alone, that figure can be less. And I know for people who've moved with more furniture, people who have a car, people have different needs and therefore have to pay for those things, or maybe you're moving to a place that you've bought and the things you need to fix before you arrive, just, obviously budget far more than approximately 40K. But that's how much money I had mentally sort of made my peace with in terms of budgeting for. And the deposit I got from my other apartment definitely helped. Yeah, so moving is not cheap. It is a huge financial decision. If I will actually happily leave the contact details of the movers that we used in the description. I think they were extremely reasonable, and I will also try and share some tips and videos to come for how you can save in terms of the apartment search itself. That's as real as I can get in terms of the cost of moving. We're happy to be here, and I look forward to documenting and being very real about life in Johannesburg. So I'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much for watching, and catch you next time.